Welcome back to Dazed and Infused. I'm Latham Woodward, your host as always. This week, a new sponsor, a new guest, a new direction for Dazed and Infused. We are now sponsored by Perfect Union and Wild Seed Wellness. Today's guest, as our intro to our new sponsor, is Tom Sheridan, CEO of Perfect Union. I think you're going to enjoy this episode and Tom's insight into the business. Look for us also on YouTube at Dazed and Infused. And now, on with the episode. Welcome back to another episode of Dazed and Infused. Today, we're super stoked to have Tom Sheridan from Perfect Union here with us. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm super stoked to be here.
Well, I'm super stoked for you to be here because, as you can see in the background, we have a new sponsor. That's Perfect Union and Wild Seed Wellness. And after many years of having Shuggies as our sponsor, Shuggies is on hiatus currently, and we're certainly happy to have Tom here and Perfect Union. A great group.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, and so Tom, let's go right into it and start with the traditional question that I ask all my guests. What's your historical relationship to cannabis? How did you come to this business?
Well, I got into the business. My historic relationship to cannabis dates back to high school, but getting in the business originally started. I'm an attorney by trade, and so I began representing cannabis companies in late 2000 and early 2012, primarily as it related to real estate. And I was so impressed with some of the people that I was working for and with the business that I kind of showed up and never left. And so my relationship started as a mere attorney, then I turned into a partner. And took equity stakes instead of fees, and here I am. And so now I find myself as the CEO.
All right. Well, that's a great progression and great answer. You are currently, your office is in Sacramento, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we have an office here in Sacramento, plus a cultivation, distribution, and 2 dispensaries that we run here.
Okay. So, when I first started manufacturing, I was manufacturing up there in Sacramento with a company called Infusion Factory, who is no longer around. And one of the big things for him at that place was being so close to the heart and soul of the California government. It sometimes made it hard to do business there. Has that been your experience, or quite opposite from that?
Quite the opposite, actually. We found Sacramento to be kind of ahead of the curve with respect to cannabis. They've had ordinances on the books for quite some time. As it relates to dispensaries, and they've been at the forefront of both progressing not only from dispensaries but to cultivation and extraction and distribution as well. The tax rates here are 4%, which we found to be, it's at least in prior days, that was kind of a reasonable sum. Now we're really pushing to get that lowered, as jurisdictions continue to kind of realize that the tax burden on cannabis businesses is almost insurmountable. So, jurisdictions are starting to kind of take note of that and lower their tax rates. But 4% even today is still, pretty reasonable number, considering that some jurisdictions are charging upwards of 10.
Oh yeah, like what is it, Costa Mesa, with 13%, I think it is down there, and
yeah,
it's crazy.
It's almost untenable.
Yeah, and for you, definitely taxes have been an issue, and because you have so many dispensaries, currently 10, you're always having to watch the bottom line. You're always having to adjust how you do business. Is there anything that really stands up in terms of like your expense level at the dispensary side that's really, really hard to get around?
It's a constant struggle. I mean, the tax thing is probably the largest struggle. As you know, they changed the excise tax burden from distribution to dispensaries. For a period of time, dispensaries were using that as a kind of a cash flow mechanism when they didn't have to come up with the excise tax payment themselves. Obviously, that put a large burden on the distribution and the cultivation and manufacturing side of the business, which is why it got changed. I think it changed last year, but so now we're funding excise tax direct, which we were always paying our excise tax anyway, but it was just now it's if you don't pay on time, I think it's a 50% penalty. And so last time I looked, I think the stats were like 35 or 40% of the dispensaries have not paid on time this last time they went. So that's been a challenge for us. We have paid on time every time, and it was something we're proud of. We're going to continue to do that, but it is a struggle to manage the cash flow when you're looking at the tax burden and all the things that come with that, especially with respect to 280E. You can be losing money at the net income level, but still owe a big tax bill, which, that's hard to fathom in most businesses. So.
Yeah, I mean, for the consumer and the people listening to this show, 280E is something that is very onerous in terms of, it's a holdover from the old illicit gains ruling by the IRS, meaning you could be in a drug-related business, and if they caught you, they're going to tag you with 280E, which you may have used for expenses. So it's a very, I encourage the audience to look into it to see how much burden has been put on the cannabis business and how difficult it is. And I think every day when you're coming to the year end, you realize, well, you don't get to write down normal expenses per normal businesses. It becomes very difficult.
Yeah, people outside of the cannabis realm, when I tell them that, they almost can't imagine it, right? They're like, how is that even possible to run a successful business if that's the case? And so there's no other business that I'm aware of that are operating currently under that same tax rubric. And so especially when you couple that with the local tax, the state excise tax, the sales tax, and everything that goes along with it. And, I think that makes it tough for the, recreational cannabis market to compete with, the traditional or black market.
Certainly the black market. I mean, that's always been a big issue. And one of the big issues too, and I'm sure that you have your own advocacy program in places for the state to actually utilize their enforcement entities to take care of this, and get these bad actors out of there. Because as I've said for many years here on the show, is if we have, quote unquote, come out from the cold and decided to be legitimate business operators, we expect something for that. And I also view it as like taxation without representation. If you're not getting representative help in enforcement of the laws and you're abiding by the laws, that's not a fair playing field.
Right. Yeah, I would say the playing field is far from fair today, but I think we're working our way that direction. Obviously, things move slow, but we are optimistic on the future. We are profitable today, even with all these hurdles. So I think when some of these hurdles go away and some of these challenges change, that we're looking forward to a lot of successful years.
Yeah, I think it's around the corner. It's coming. It's just the people like myself who got into the business very early, and I was used to manufacturing in the construction trade, and coming in and just learning these new rules was really an eye opener, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people found that out, myself included.
Yeah,
so
I found out
you got it
sometimes
early, you think I'm ahead of the game, and then you're like, oh wow, I'm actually probably too early. So a lot of the things that have happened so far are just too early for the space.
Yeah, let me ask you just a general question in terms of like audience interest here. What do you think, and what's the feedback from your staff and personnel on trends, and if you feel like the things are going in a direction toward, finally getting the new adopters in, finally getting the soccer moms in, that's been the big buzzword forever and ever. And what are they saying? What's the gab on the ground?
I think for the most part, people are ready for it to be legalized, right, and for it to be normalized. And so we are seeing those folks that you wouldn't have expected to see before. And so the 9 out of 10 people I talk to are either interested in learning about cannabis, or they're already using cannabis for some thing, whether it be recreational or for sleep, most for sleep. I talked to a guy the other day that he goes in once every 6 months and buys a bunch of edibles to help him sleep, right? And this is an attorney friend of mine, and so
Right.
the that otherwise wouldn't be a traditional user. But I think we are heading towards that, where it becomes socially acceptable and that stigma goes away, and you do see those soccer moms, for lack of a better word, heading into the local dispensary and picking something up, and so but it's definitely trending, and I think it's picking up steam, as most things do, right, as more and more people become accepting and interested in it and realize the benefits of it, whether it be for relaxation, sleep, anxiety, or whatever else, right? There's a lot of benefits to it, and people are starting to see that, and then they tell a friend or two, and the next thing you know, you've got more consumers. So we are definitely seeing a trend towards that, and then we're obviously seeing a trend these days with more towards value type products. Some of the top shelf stuff is slowing down, and there's been more of a move towards value stuff. I think that has stems primarily from $5 gasoline or $6 gasoline, and kind of the pinch that everybody's feeling with inflation and everything else.
Oh yeah.
Along with the fact that you have a lot more consumers that are just looking to get, because a good deal, right? And so when people come in, they want to try new stuff, but they want to feel like they're getting a value.
Well said. I mean, that definitely with the gas situation and in just general inflation, it's getting tough on families in general. And going out to dinner, I'm sure you see it up in Sac. You live in the Bay Area, and it's just brutal down here. Just even going out to dinner with your family, you know?
Oh yeah, gallon of milk's $9 or $10 or whatever it is now.
Oh, it's crazy.
You can't go eat fast food with a couple people for less than 30 or 40 bucks anymore. It's just nuts.
I was almost unfathomable a couple of years ago, you know?
Yeah.
So, you were talking about, the bottom line, and what has the journey been to get into a cash flow positive position?
It's been hard, and so but the journey has primarily been slimming down, getting back to the roots of the company, which was always, on a startup, really, really lean, making sure that every single business unit, if it's not profitable today, there's a clear path to profitability, and you know what it takes to get there.
Hmm.
And then maximizing, every single resource that you have, whether that resource is team members or locations or places you're leasing, all those things are up for grabs at this point. And so we literally look at, we try to look at every penny that goes out the door,
Right.
and make sure that we're, getting at least a penny back, or in some cases, hopefully a few pennies more. And so so it's just really looking at every single item, and accepting the fact that, maybe you can't scale it as quickly as you might otherwise want to.
Hmm.
Maybe you can't do things that the way that you might want to, with respect to, we've had to take it easy on, outside attorneys, outside accountants, do more things in-house, work a little harder, try a little harder, be a little smarter than the other people, at least try to be. And so with that said, I'm really proud. We have a great team here. That's one of the things I was really fortunate, when I got here, was to maintain a really core group of people that have been here for a long time, and know the business and know the culture. And so we've all kind of, gotten in the foxhole together, and continue to, slug it out in the industry. So
Yeah. Well, a shout out to your very good staff, Nicole and who else am I dealing with over there?
Chelsea,
Chelsea. Chelsea's
yeah, and
amazing.
Helica.
Yeah, and Helica. I mean, your staff is amazing, and just getting this thing off the ground with them has been seamless and professional and well orchestrated.
Yeah, they are
And
absolute rock stars.
yeah,
So
they are. I mean, they're just very diligent about what they do. They treat it professionally, which,
yeah,
quite frankly, I am not really used to in the cannabis business, because after many, almost 30 years of my business, coming into the cannabis business and encountering some of the people in 18 and 19 was just a real eye opener.
yeah, no, for sure, and they make my job easy. That's for sure. So
That's good. And we should shout out a mutual friend of ours, Bill Romanowski, who
yeah.
I've known Bill for quite a while. He's done a lot of events with me, and his brand Half Pipe, which you guys proudly carry.
Yeah, no, we've been working with Half Pipe and Bill's, actually, since I got back into the space, and it's been beneficial for both of us. We've enjoyed the time.
That's great. Um, in terms of like your expansion plans, are you going to be continuing to expand your dispensary presence through MSA and or acquisition, or what's the plan? Or if you don't care to tell us, that's okay as well.
No, yeah, no, we're actively always looking to increase our footprint, either through greenfield opportunities. So we have a store. We were awarded 1 out of 4 licenses in Woodland,
Hmm.
through a very competitive process. We were awarded that. We have a site picked out and ready to go. We're just waiting to work our way through that. We have a small tenant improvement to do there, and cities working through some of their issues. But once that gets rolling here, I expect in 2024 that facility will open. We are going to continue to look at additional greenfield locations, as well as some acquisitions and things. I would expect to add 2 to 3 more licenses in 2024. All things working out the way we hope.
And are you? I've noticed from your store list, you're not really heavy in the Los Angeles area. You were, I believe, in Crenshaw at one point, correct?
We were working on a facility in Crenshaw that we never really got off the ground. But we lately, one of the mantras that I'm kind of living by is that I really want to be able to touch things, that we're working on. So we've been trying to stay local as much as possible, like Woodland's, 30 minutes from Sacramento.
Right.
And it's easy to deal with and easy to work on. And, it's expensive to travel, and it's expensive to not be able to run something day in, day out. So here we're kind of centralized focus on, staying within an hour or 2 of the Sacramento area, if possible. That's not to say if the right deal came along that we wouldn't look at it in other places in the state. But generally speaking, with the new centralized purchasing that we do, we run our own distribution from a localized hub here in Sacramento to the stores. So if we stay within, an hour or two, it makes it easy to get product there, it makes it easy to get staff there, and we can, cross-train folks. It just is all things better. So we're going to kind of stick with that model, at least for the foreseeable future.
Was any of your decision, additionally, not to be a huge presence in the Los Angeles area, their notoriety for non-payment, many of those dispensaries?
Yeah, so primarily the purpose is it's a huge market. You have to really kind of know what you're doing and know what's going on. Not that we couldn't figure it out, but right now it's a different time in cannabis. Before, when I first got to cannabis in 2011, 2012, and probably up until 2019, really 2020. And maybe even past that, it was, it was an opportunistic thing, right? So you had to go wherever the opportunity landed. It was hard to make a good deal in cannabis at those times because things were expensive. And so you ended up going places where you otherwise might not have wanted to be.
Right.
That's shifted now. So now there are opportunities pretty much everywhere, and deals are starting to make sense from a financial perspective. So we're not really reaching too far geographically or otherwise, and trying to really stay home and stay focused.
That's great. It was a great approach. And I mean, being conservative in this market is a very good one, especially with who knows what's going to happen in the near future.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I've given up trying to forecast when the federal legalization might occur, or when they might figure out what they're going to do next. And now I'm just kind of focused on the task at hand, which is continuing to make sure that each business unit runs as efficiently and productively and profitably as possible.
It was great. And I think you're in a good position to do that with the staff you have and the brands you carry and your business approach. Are you actively looking for discounts to be put into your stores for consumers, especially seniors, veterans, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we're actively looking to, and I think people see this for checking out our shops. We're constantly trying to provide discounts to everyone, right? So we run a lot of specials day in, day out on different products every day. And so actually Green Wednesday is tomorrow. So there's a lot of specials running tomorrow. And then, day in, day out, we've got some sort of special. So we're always looking for a way to give back to the folks that are coming through our doors.
That's great. And I think the public appreciates that too, especially now when, like we said, things are a little tighter than normal.
Yeah, we've seen it really makes a difference. So something that's been important to us is to continue to make sure we can offer those aggressive pricing promos and stuff to folks.
Right. Oh, and because you are my new sponsor of the show, I want to tell the folks at home that you do now have a new lineup of gummies called Blazy, and the flavor profiles look amazing. And I think it's something that the public will be interested in. You've got Blazy boysenberry, blue raspberry, and elderberry. Quite an eclectic lineup, which is cool because everyone else has got everything else.
Yeah, no, we wanted to focus on a few flavors that we thought were going to be that people would like, and so but yeah, they're actually phenomenal tasting. They're it's a good product, and so especially at it's going to come in at kind of that value pricing, and so where it'll be a good value for the money. So
nano or traditional distillate?
What's that?
Nano THC or distillate?
Distillate.
Okay, well, that's where you get your value. That's for sure.
Yep.
And it's important to have that flavor profile, and I think those flavors are pretty interesting because, like I said, no one's doing them.
Yeah, no, and they taste good too. So
that's great. That's what counts. So we're at that part of the show where we'd like to ask the final question we ask all our guests, and that is, tell us a Stony story. Everyone's got one, and everyone seems to store it away in their memory bank. It doesn't have to be about you. It could be about your mom, your dad, your grandma, or just a good friend or someone who needs to remain nameless. What do you got for
me? So I've got several actually, but the one that I always tell everybody is, I was going to a fantasy football draft one time with a bunch of attorneys and CPAs and guys that were not cannabis users normally. They had found out that I was involved in the cannabis space. They said, "Oh, we'd like to try some edibles." So we had gotten a selection of edibles, including some trail mix and everything else, and everybody went too heavy on the edibles on the way down to the fantasy football draft. And then during the entire draft, everybody just sat there stoned out of their minds. This one guy ended up changing his fantasy football team name to "I can't feel my face when I draft with you." So, but somebody had come in who didn't take the ride down to the draft with us. They just met us there, and they came in and they're like, "Man, this looks like a really good time." Everybody's just literally sitting there stoned and can't move, So
did that guy get
really
all
funny.
the good players?
Yeah. So but yeah, I myself actually had a few too many trail mix edibles that night, and it was a long night. So
well, trail mix is hard to regulate, that's for sure.
yeah, no, it was an interesting evening. So.
So for the folks at home, we've been very happy to have Tom Sheridan here from Perfect Union and Wild Seed Wellness. And what's your newest store out there, Tom?
So the newest store that we have coming is Woodland, and so the look for that in probably the first quarter of 2024.
That is amazing. And any other news you want to share with people at home?
No, just come check us out. We've changed a lot of things over the last 12 months. We have a lot better pricing and promotional support, providing good deals to the consumer. And I think we have a good selection and great customer service. And I think you'll be happy to check us out.
Yeah, Christmas is right around the corner. Everybody needs a present. So check out Perfect Union for your great stony treats for the Christmas season. Tom, thanks very much for being on the show. And everyone at home, please take a look at Perfect Union and the Wild Seed Wellness stores. And I think you're going to find what you need to make your evenings, days, and weekends fantastic. Tom, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Latham. Enjoy the time.
We'll see you again here on Dazed and Infused.